contrary to press reports, Secretary Clinton would not automatically be out of step with the FAM provision by using a personal email for official business. It's a policy, it's not a federal regulation, but again, we're going to let this process move forward, and obviously we'll speak to it, I'm sure, throughout and at the conclusion.
So why is Jen there offering a legal assessment? Welcome into Hour 2 of America's Forum. Alongside Miranda Kahn, J.D. Hayworth here. We did hear that State Department spokeswoman, Jen Psaki, trying to answer questions and say it, make a distinction between what is legal and what might not be legal, all dealing with Hillary Clinton's private email accounts.
Right, and we want to remind everybody that Hillary is going to be speaking this afternoon, and we'll, of course, can bring you live coverage as soon as we get it. But it's not just whether Clinton, broke the rules anymore. People are beginning to wonder what kind of security measures could be in place outside of State Department monitored emails, and if sending messages through a public domain would constitute negligence, actually a private domain.
And we are not negligent in following up on this story because we are pleased to welcome in right now via telephone Stephen J.J. Weisman, attorney, internet expert, and professor at Bentley University, and also with us this entire hour as we point out Stephen J.J. Weisman's website, Scam Aside. No scam here. We set the scams aside as we welcome in Jack Berkman, who will guest with us for this entire hour. To our friend Stephen J.J. Weisman, you're an attorney. We don't hold it against you. You heard Jen Psaki trying to explain the difference between a regulation and a law, and that Hillary doesn't face criminality. In your opinion, if she has broken this regulation or this law, is there potential criminality?
I'm not so sure there's potential criminality here. There's a couple of issues that come to my mind with this. One is, once again, how slow the law and regulations are to catch up with the realities of technology. The other question is, even if, and I think there's a possibility that Hillary Clinton can say that she complied with the law at the time, did she comply with the spirit of the law, even if she complied with the letter of the law? Because there is a certain level of transparency that isn't present with what she did. So I'm pretty sure and pretty confident that what she will say in her press conference is that, in fact, her use of the private email account was secure, and in fact it may even have been more secure than some government emails, and she'll say that she complied with the spirit of the law and the letter of the law. But I've got some questions on this, because it really does bring up the issue of her having control over the emails rather than the State Department.
Stephen, Jack Berkman here. Let me ask you, is there any possible reason, and let's try to give her the ultimate benefit of the doubt, is there any reason that someone would use a personal email other than just to conceal information from either House investigative committees or the press or the American public? Is there any possible legitimate reason for doing that other than just to hide damaging information?
Well, interesting, Jack. The thing that first came to my mind, and even paranoids have enemies, is the way I think sometimes, is that she may have actually been concerned about the security of the government email accounts, because there have been hackings into those, and she may have felt that she would be less secure on the government accounts than her own accounts. But that's about the only explanation I can come up with.
Stephen, there was an interesting exchange that happened between Associated Press reporter Mike Lee and Jen Psaki yesterday. I want you to listen to it.
I'm just, on the issue of the security, the security of the server, of the actual server. Do you have any reason to believe that it was compromised at all? It's only the State Department, the state.gov emails that get hacked. Right. So Secretary Clinton's, then former Secretary
There
Clinton's,
have been several days where I have not had access to my state.gov
so
email.
they might have actually been safer in a private server.
So, Stephen, what do you think? He's suggesting that it might have been safer on a private server. Do you agree with that?
Actually, I do. It's less of a target. You can, without the bureaucracy that goes into it, put in enhanced security on a private server. So, in fact, I think that is a possibility. I'm not sure if that is the reasoning behind Secretary Clinton's at the time decision to do that. And it's interesting because that hasn't been stated by her yet. So it'll be interesting to see if she somehow says that. I don't think she will, though.
And it's worth noting that if Hillary's watching right now, she's got her new story to use. That, hey, it was the security that she had in mind. Can't use the State Department. They've been hacked. She had that clever private server.
Stephen, you're
at her
hired,
own
right?
home. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Listen, we're going to ask Stephen to stay with us, and also Jack. And you come back, too. A reminder, we'll cover Mrs. Clinton's press conference when and if it happens this afternoon.
Obviously, we're going to work very closely with Indianapolis public safety officials. It's obviously very troubling, but it's a reminder that in the world of today, that the enemies of our freedom are just a click away.
With Miranda Kahn, J.D. Hayworth back with you on America's Forum. We just heard Indiana Governor Mike Pence there reflecting on the vulnerability of U.S. websites potentially at the hands of foreign terrorists.
Those comments were in response to the hacking of a couple of Indiana-based businesses and their websites over the weekend. It's still unclear, though, if this is the work of ISIS or if these are lone wolf hack attacks.
Let's continue our conversation now, rejoined by Stephen J.J. Weisman, who comes to us via audio from Massachusetts. We got a real nice picture of you, though, Steve. And on camera from Newsmax Washington, Jack Bergman, who's with us this entire hour. Now, Stephen, these hacks claim to be from ISIS.
Yeah.
And right now they're just putting a logo on the page. Do you think this is legit, or is it someone just involved in a kind of sick prank?
I think it's most of these are probably the sick prank. There doesn't appear to be sufficient evidence to tie so many of these hackings to ISIS. But that's not going to make us feel better on a couple of levels. One is, even if you have a lone wolf that is able to access websites around the country and around the world in that fashion, just because they're not officially ISIS doesn't make us any safer. And hacking is something where a few weeks ago a German steel plant, its computers were hacked into, and the steel plant was set on fire remotely. So the possibility of this kind of cyber warfare, whether it's done by the lone wolf or ISIS, and ISIS does have people who are sophisticated technologically. There is a British national who is with ISIS who actually served time for hacking into the emails of the Prime Minister of England. He didn't hack into Hillary's, though. So I am still very, very concerned about the lack of security in general on the internet and the fact that we've got to do a lot more about this.
Stephen, let me ask you a broader question. What accounts for ISIS success? I mean, I live in the year 749. I can barely use email. My technological knowledge is like that rock on the table over there. But it would just seem to me, looking out there, that ISIS has been very successful on the internet. What accounts for this? Why are they so successful? And why, as a general matter, are we losing the internet battle to ISIS?
Well, we're not necessarily losing the internet battle to ISIS, but they are certainly more sophisticated on the internet than Al-Qaeda. But it's also the times, and so the use of social media, the use of YouTube, the use of YouTube and other social media and Twitter by ISIS. That's something that's enhanced. I think it's more a matter of the time. However, ISIS has some interesting enemies, not just the free world, but in addition to the free world, they have upset a group called Anonymous, who are hackers who have generally been doing illegal activities, but they have their own sets of morality. So, for instance, the Anonymous has taken down websites for pedophiles, and now they have declared war on ISIS and have already taken down a number of ISIS social media and websites. So we do have the government working against them, but we also have Robin Hood on our side.
Stephen, social media sites have been getting a lot of heat, as you know, from world governments about shutting down terrorist-related accounts. As easy as it is to make a new account, can these sites actually keep up with these huge demands?
You know, Miranda, that's a great question because YouTube, Twitter, and others are doing, I really feel, the best they can. And what's happening is you've got a sophisticated enemy in ISIS that will put key search words on there and algorithms that do not relate to what they are putting up. They will put up words that they know are going to engage the public and bring people there. So it's very hard to keep them off. It's a matter of recognizing as quickly as possible when they are on.
A very quick change of topic, Stephen, with about a minute remaining. An audit report summary about Social Security was able to identify 6.5 million Social Security number holders of people who would be 112 years of age or older, and no death information associated with any of those numbers. Seems like a huge fraud risk. Have you heard about this? What's the latest?
You know, the latest is Social Security has been an abomination as far as the loss of money to identity theft. And then when they try and solve the problem, like doing something called the Death Master File, so that the various institutions that would be paying monies can see who is dead, that file was used for years by identity thieves to steal the identities of dead people. It is something, this kind of fraud, Social Security is just identifying, and they should be able to put the software together to prevent this.
It's a subject we'll follow up in next hour. The co-director of the group Social Security Works, Nancy Altman, will join us then. Stephen, JJ, to you, our thanks.